Good morning! What it do, my friends and students of the fourth year? Before I start with today's lesson, I just need to mention that there was a student who asked me a question about why, in the previous lesson pertaining to the subject of the previous lesson, why is it that the topic is called, or the whole warning is called Miranda warning? Why is it not simply called just a warning? Miranda, the word Miranda, it's a name, by the way. It comes from the name of Ernesto Miranda, who was accused of stealing $8 from someone, and then after the investigation, after the conduction of investigation, he divulged that he not only stole $8, but he also was involved in, I think, raping someone and molestation, something like that. I don't remember exactly what it was. And so the court did not find the suspect guilty because he was not given the warnings. Okay, these warnings, he was not debriefed about the warnings. He was not debriefed of his rights as a suspect. Sorry about that. And so the court decided to release him based on the fact that he was not briefed about his rights. And his name was Ernesto Miranda, and that's where the name comes from. Okay? So that, Miranda warning comes from the name of Ernesto Miranda, who was accused of something, and then he was let go because he was not briefed about the rights, the warnings. So it became something official that whoever is suspected of doing a crime must be briefed about the warnings, must be told the warnings before the commencement or the starting of the the investigations. Today's lesson is about Bill of Rights. Well, it took me 2 minutes to get to today's lesson subject matter, which is the Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights, pretty sure a lot of you are actually familiar with the Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights is a lot of times you hear people talking on the TV about invoking a certain right that they have. They would say, I'll use my Fifth Amendment, and I'll not discuss this topic which, let's say, you had addressed or you'd asked me a question about. So you all know about the infamous, what was his name? The German guy, the American who is originally from Germany or has German ethnicity. Was it Frankenstein? I forgot his name. So he had this island, small isle in the Caribbean, and in the Caribbean he groomed little girls, underage girls, for sexual purposes, and he was convicted. And oftentimes he'd be asked about his involvement in child abuse and child or underage sexual crimes. He'd say, "I'd like to protect my Fifth Amendment. I will not answer these questions." Okay, so these are the kind of things that American citizens can use every time they have every time someone is either threatened or someone is expressing their freedom or expressing that they have the right to do something and not to do something. It's these sorts of things that you hear Americans, especially Americans who are familiar with their rights, talk about. I think this was, as it says here, was created it was established in 1789, and it was ratified, it means edited, in 1791. I'm going to explain these very briefly, and I'll leave it. I'm not going to send you this one. This is just an infographic to make the whole topic easier for you to understand. Otherwise, I will send you a PDF version that has everything in it. so that it's easier for you to translate. And maybe I'm gonna divide this topic into two parts. Okay, two parts. The first part is about the only 5 amendments, and the second part is the rest of the other 5 amendments, the 10 amendments, as they say. Okay, so the First Amendment is about freedom. Every person has the freedom. First Amendment says every person has the freedom of religion, belief, to speech, to let's say lobby against or for something, or to assemble against or for something. Okay, this involves any sort of freedom. So a person has complete freedom in everything. Okay, and that's what the First Amendment is about. The Second Amendment says that every person has the right to own arms, okay, to own weaponry, okay, to own guns. This is, I'm pretty sure, I think in America, the cause or the reason why this is a right is because it's a popular belief. I could be wrong, but this is the common prevalent idea amongst Americans, that you have the right to own guns, so that if the government is unfair and the government is not righteous, the government is not protecting your rights, and it's not promoting your rights, then you have the right to uprise against the government by means of weapons. I think that's one of the reasons. And also I think it's because of personal rights. Third Amendment is that so government use of private homes as quarters for soldiers. So a soldier, in time of peace or in time of war, should not be lodged, or should not be what is the word? Should not be a guest in anyone's house. They should have their own houses. Nowhere they should be lodged or be considered as guests, unless the government has their own houses. Okay, they have private homes for soldiers. So no soldier. This isn't related to like anything specific about the rights of Americans. This is mostly what do you call it? This is generic. It's about soldiers mostly. So you cannot use the houses of your citizens as housing for the soldiers. You cannot do that because it's a private property, and the private property is the ownership of an American citizen. Fourth Amendment says anything that the government wishes to construe, or anything the government wishes to establish, or anything that the government wants to take an action for, or maybe an action to do something, there must be a paper that justifies the action of that body or that governmental institution or that government agency. So let's say you need to be arrested, because you've committed a crime. The police cannot just enter, and take you to prison. It's not like that. There should be an arrest warrant that states why you are being arrested, and also it mentions that you will be investigated, you will get a fair trial, and you have the right for a lawyer, legal counseling, as well as, if you cannot afford it, it'll be provided. One will be provided for you. Okay? That's about the Fourth Amendment. The Fifth Amendment is about anything, no person should be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless, yes. Fifth Amendment, as I said earlier, what was his name? I forgot his name, but I'm pretty sure sorry about that. What was his name? So Prince Andrews of England, he had personal ties with them, and I think he came under media scrutiny recently. And in the video, not in the interview, there was an interview conducted with Prince Andrew of Britain. Sorry about that. Okay. Prince Andrew of England, and in that interview he was caught lying. He wasn't really being truthful. What was his name? Anyways, so as I said, any question that is addressed to you, you have the right not to answer the question. Okay, that's the Fifth Amendment in essence. So let's say if someone is caught, all right, as I said with the Fourth Amendment, there should be a warrant and everything, a paper justifies the arrest. In case someone is investigated, the person has the right not to answer any of the questions. That's what the Fifth Amendment is about. So let's say you do something bad, all right? That's just an example. I'm not endorsing someone or people doing bad things or bad stuff. If someone asks you if the police asks you if you've done this wrongful act or this wrong act, you have the right to say, well, I didn't do it, even if it's a lie, because in this case you are protecting your right as a citizen, and this is your right because the Fifth Amendment says that you have the right to answer no questions from anyone, okay? Even if it's the government. The rest of the amendments I will discuss